Welcome to this week's edition of the Weekly Travel Alert. I'm Steve Glenn.
I'm Paul Glenn.
Hey, and Paul, this time we're still going to talk about Alaska cruise. I just got back in the saddle from last week being gone to Alaska. A 7-day ultra-luxury cruise on the Seabourn Odyssey.
And how was it?
Amazing. Hey, but I thought during that cruise, we need to share with our listeners and our watchers the 5 things they need to know before they go on a cruise and set up a cruise. Because once they get these 5s down, they'll have a great cruise. You ready to go?
Let's do this.
Here we go. Executive Travel sponsors the Weekly Travel Alert every week. We send it out to 100,000 people via email every Tuesday. And then we follow that up with a weekly podcast here and a radio show on KLIN Radio. Been doing this for 38 years. Our starting comments. 5 things you must know before, and the operative word, Paul, is before you start planning an Alaska cruise. Number 1, and this makes sense, you're going to spend $10,000 or more on this cruise to do it right for 2 people. You got to find a friendly travel advisor. I mean, you'd be silly to have this massive investment and not find a professional that will counsel you and guide you on all the nuances of Alaska, because there's a million ways to do it.
Ultimately, they're going to take what we're going to talk about today and help you figure out what it is you want your individual experience to be. And so that's some of the things that they would be going through with you are the things we're going to talk about.
So I could go on the exact same itinerary I was on a different ship and have a terrible time.
Totally different experience.
And we have to understand who you are and what you're looking for. So with that, number 1 is find your trusted, friendly travel advisor. We at Executive Travel will be happy to help you there. Number 2, choose the type of cruise. There are 3 varieties. Basically, you've got an inside passage. Those are like round trip from Vancouver up to Alaska, back to Vancouver, or Seattle up to Alaska, back to Seattle. And basically, those are going to hit 3 or 4 of the major cities. You've got Ketchikan, Skagway, Juneau, maybe a Sitka or a Haines in there. And you're also going to hit a major glacier like Glacier Bay. And you're going to hit a glacier in maybe 3 or 4 cities. It's a great way to see it. And actually, that's one of your lowest costs because you don't have high airfares.
Your airfare's down. You're also, you're not doing, that's going to be 7 days is going to be the standard. So you're not getting into a longer cruise. It's also a great way if you haven't cruised before to break in and put your toe in the water because you're in the inside passage, you're not getting out into open water. So you can have that cruise experience without having the risk of the rough seas because you aren't getting that far out into the water. So great option for getting that first time experience of a cruise.
So that's 2.1. Now 2.2, one-way cruises, commonly called cross-Gulf cruises of Alaska. And these are literally northbound or southbound cruises. Usually they're 7 days north from Vancouver up to wherever you might end up with Juneau or up into Anchorage, Seward, something like that. One-way cruises, you get to see a lot more territory. Or southbound, where you might go from Anchorage, bus down to Seward, and then head down south to Vancouver or Seattle. Those are very positive. That's what I was on. I went from Juneau down to Vancouver, and just a delightful cruise. And we were lucky we hit some great weather as well.
That's the weather. Weather is a key, and weather's the unknown. I mean, you can get either rain your whole cruise, or you can get sunshine your whole cruise and beautiful weather. So that's what you get with Alaska. There's a little bit of a roll of the dice.
And now the third one is one-way cruises, adding a land extension. Now, if you're going to do Alaska once, this is what you need to do. Do a one-way cruise, let's say in northbound from Vancouver to Juneau or Vancouver up to Anchorage, and then extend it with like a 3 or 4 night or 7 night up. Take the railroad all the way up to Denali, Mount McKinley, and then fly back from Fairbanks. So that's the ultimate, if you want to kind of do a one and done of Alaska, or you don't know if you're going to go again or if you like it or not, you would see more of Alaska and great value as well.
Yep. No, I think that's one where definitely something you're adding 3 or 4 days. You're probably adding $1,500 to $2,000 a person to be able to do that, depending on how nice you want to go. But if you want to get up into the interior land of Alaska, which Alaska, the beauty is nature, and so to maximize that experience, you definitely want to get that land excursion put on there.
So step number 3, choose the size of the ship, amenities, and ports of call. They have large ships now, Paul, of 5,000 people. Basically, Disney World floating
on the water,
or
yes.
Vegas floating on the water, everything you could ever want, mostly for kids and families and all those big ships. And they offer great bang for the buck, great pricing.
The mega ships tend to be a great value.
Yeah.
You get down in the Caribbean, you get on that mega ship, and you can get something for as little as $500 for a 4 or 5 night cruise.
Some of them.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, they're pushing you through. There's no intimacy. It's just like an amusement park.
You bet. Then you have the mid-sized ships that are 1,000 to 2,000 passengers. These are kind of a good balance with the large ships, a little more intimacy. They also still have the good entertainment.
So
the mega ships are going to have Broadway acts and Broadway shows and massive
kids
massive
programs.
places.
I mean, that's why they're so attractive to families, is because you can get on there and you're going to have something for everybody. Where you get to the ship that's going to be 1,000 to 2,000, the number of children is going to be cut down dramatically, which has an impact on your experience. So you have to, again, think through. Do you want to be part of the amusement park feel, or do you want something where you and your traveling companions, where you can feel like you've got the opportunity to sit, relax, enjoy some peace and quiet, and have some nice conversation?
It reminds me, while we're talking, we have all this week, all of our staff is down, our vacation team is down in Las Vegas at Virtuoso Week.
Travel Week,
and they're
yep.
meeting with all the vendors, all the cruise ships, all the vendors around the world, and that's how we get the exposure of finding out the great values, the great people.
All the different options that are out there.
You bet. So you got the large ships, the mid-sized ships, the small luxury ships. That's 100 to 1,000. I was just on the Seabourn Odyssey, which had 458 passengers, which is very luxury, very intimate. It's going to cost twice of what that mega ship's going to cost, but you're going to have a different environment, no children, basically.
Was there ever a line to get on
Never,
or off the ship?
Not even to an elevator.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the things, is I know when we were in Norway a month or two ago, the line to get back on the ship a couple of the days was probably 500 people long.
I won't put up with that.
So, again, going back to what your experience is going to be, those are all things to consider when you're thinking about what type of ship you want to be on.
You bet. The next size ship, the 4th size, is what we call the expedition or yacht-like ships, and those are smaller, 30 to 200 passengers. And you can get into places you can't get in with the mega ships. And a lot of people use that for wildlife viewing and getting in a deeper
adventure.
dive.
They tend to be, you're going to be very active on those, because you're going to get deep with nature.
And I also might say, and I didn't write in this report, but the type of ship you're on, as far as the brand, the Seabourn is ultra luxury. It's going to have a higher price tag, smaller ships, and you're going to have an older baby boomer group on there, basically. And then you get into the mega ships, you're going to have families. Yep. So if you don't like kids, Ryan, you have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, right? Ryan Swihart helps us here on the Weekly Travel Alert podcast. And for his family, he probably wouldn't want to go on the Seabourn. Yeah. He might want to go on a larger ship so the kids can have fun, have kids' activities, free up mom and dad for some little time by themselves. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, it's very critical that you get a professional travel advisor to help you advise it, or you could be miserable. If I go on that ship that Ryan takes his kids on, guess what? He's happy, and I'm not so happy. So,
not that your kids are bad, Ryan.
No.
So I don't want to get in trouble with Jade.
Yeah. So step 4, book early, as the best discounts and cabins go fast. Like right now, there's great deals for next year, next Alaska. And like Seabourn has a $2,200 cabin discount on some cruises that you get, not a discount, but you get a credit, onboard credit. So you not only get the cabin you want, the location you want, and I didn't even go through locations and cabins, but you can do cabins on the right side, the left side, up the front of the ship, the middle of the ship, and the aft part of the ship. So those are all other considerations. This is kind of a down and dirty on
as I say, each boat only has so much inventory.
Right.
And so if you've got something that you really want, you've got to jump on it as quickly as possible, because once that stateroom is booked, it's booked.
You bet. Number 5 on this week's list of 5 things that you must do before you book your Alaska cruise for 2025. Reads, I really recommend you consider upgrading your cruise experience to Alaska by spending a few dollars more. Number one, you've ought to always get a balcony, a veranda or balcony. If you get an inside cabin, come on, guys. The beauty of an Alaska cruise is sitting on your balcony, watching the world go by, watching the bears, the eagles, all the animals outside while you're cruising, watching the whales. You don't get that on an inside cabin. You don't get that with a porthole. You're going to get that with a balcony.
I think that's what you have to recognize is, a lot of cruises, if you're going down to the Caribbean, a lot of the excitement comes from the different islands that you're getting off on every day. With Alaska, the destinations or the ports are part of it, but the glaciers and the natural wildlife that you are cruising by as you're cruising a couple hundred yards off of the land, that's the experience. So every ounce of daylight that you've got, there's an opportunity to have an amazing experience when you're up in Alaska.
And don't go cheap. I mean, you're going to probably do this once in your lifetime. Most people will. They've got it on their bucket list, but don't go cheap. For sure, you got to do the balcony or the veranda. You might upgrade a little bit, get a little better cabin, but do it right, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to spend thousands of dollars to do it. Why not spend a few $100 or $1,000 more and really enjoy it, get all the benefits of those extra upgrades and cabins and that type of thing. Once again, that's where your travel advisor, your professional travel advisor will come in. But you should book them actually now.
Yeah.
We're seeing people actually book for 2025, the summer of 2025 into Alaska, because July and August are the hot seasons. We talked about that last week. And now you should get ready and pull that trigger. Put that deposit down. It's probably only $500 for that deposit. And then you don't have to pay the balance until later next year.
Probably 90 days prior. So
you bet.
Plenty of time to start planning, be excited, and dream.
Hey, we've had fun today on the weekly travel alert that we put out every week, and I'm back in the saddle, so I'm kind of babbling along here, and trying to figure out how to talk today.
I think we're both home for a while.
Yeah, so now we got to do the zip bang bing, Paul.
Yeah, please like, subscribe, share, and add any comments or feedback on topics that might be of interest for a future episode. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.